Now if we go and place an order, I can select the grower that I want to process. Again, we only have one grower in there. That makes it easy. And I'm going to go ahead and place an order on both of the fields now. So here's field 11 is now in there, and here's field 7. So I'm just going to go ahead and run an order on both of those fields. So I've check marked them. We give you, when we set up an account, we give you some standard formulas, just kind of as a starting point. A lot of these came from the University of Arkansas. And so if these work for you, you can use them, or you can generate your own, or like I mentioned before, you just send us the formulas and we can create them for you. So let's say we're going to do we want to do a lime rack, and we're putting out corn in those fields. So let's do a P and a K formula. So I'm running 3 formulas, lime, P, and K. All right, and then it brings up a where you can select in the output file what you want to show up. If you don't want all the different maps and tables, you can uncheck those. For now, I would just leave these checked just so that you can see everything that comes out, and then you can come back and rerun the order later and say, well, I don't really need, maybe the, all the lab results, or you may want to include we're including an interpolated map of the pH, P, and K because that's the formulas, but you also may want to include a map of the CEC and the calcium from the lab results. So you can go ahead and check mark that, and that'll create that interpolated map to show you the field map of the CEC, for example. The other thing you can do here is you can create a separate shapefile. So we're running two fields in this order. We can create a separate shapefile for each field. So we'll end up with 2 shapefiles. Or some controllers you can give it one shapefile, and it'll have and you can include all the fields into one shapefile, which makes it really convenient. That way you only have one shapefile, and so there's no confusion on which shapefile to load up. You can just select the one shapefile, and it'll load up all the fields that are in that shapefile, and then just as you go from one field to the next, the applicator, it'll just turn on and off automatically as it goes through each field. The other thing to look at here is the maximum. These are interpolation parameters. So again, we've got a field with a bunch of points. So what we need to do is interpolate the values in between those points. And what we use is a process called inverse distance weighting. So if you're trying to figure out how to interpolate a value between in the middle of some points, the closer the points are, the more weight they carry. And the farther away they are, the less weight. And so right now the default is 2,500. That means it may look out 2,500 feet at a sample point way out, in the distance, but it's going to carry very little weight. And if you want to cut that down, to maybe just, 1,000 feet, that's fine. Now the cell size, this is not the grid sampling size. So this is in meters. So be aware of that. What this is the interpolation cell size. So let me just spend a minute and explain how this is working. So you have a field, and the one field that we're doing, there's 28, 29 points. And then we're creating a value in between all those points for the entire field. We're creating an interpolated surface. And what we're doing is creating a bunch of little cells, grids, across the entire field, and saying, okay, in this grid, in this little grid cell, I'm looking at all the points around, and I'm calculating up a value, one value for that one little grid cell. And then I'm moving to the next grid cell, and again, looking at all the points and giving it a weight, calculating what the distance is to all the neighboring sample points, and then creating a point there. So, so this is saying that those little interpolation cells are going to be 30 meters by 30 meters. Now you can cut that down. You probably, you also need to kind of think about your equipment, your spray equipment. If, depending on how big the boom width is, there's really no advantage to cutting it down to less than what the boom width is, because it's not going to make a difference anyways. And the more you cut it down and have a smaller interpolation size, the more processing it's going to take and the longer it's going to take to get your results back. So you can play with this value. So you can run an order and use 30, and then you can come back and do like 15 if you want. I would not recommend going less than 15 meters. 15 meters would be about around 50 feet. It takes a lot more processing power. So, maybe 15 down to 10 would be okay. Any smaller than that is just going to take a long time to process that entire field. So let's leave it at 15. And then we'll go ahead and say next. And this is where it's giving you kind of a summary here, saying, okay, 2 fields, total number of acres, here's the formulas, and then here's the order name. You'll want to create a unique order name here, because after a while you're going to build up a list of all of your orders, and you can keep your orders for as many years as you want. We don't delete them, we don't get rid of them. Even after the 12 months, you can come back and view those orders and download them as long as you want. So, I may say, okay, this was Andy, 2016, NP and lime, for example. And then I would click place order. So now what that has done is submitted the order to our server. And you can come back now, and the next item down on the menu here on the left is to view orders. So now I can look at my orders. You can see here's Andy 2016 NP lime. Here's Andy Field 7 that I ran earlier today during a test. And you can see the status. It's already generating the report of this Andy 2016 NP lime order that we just placed. You can see the number of prescriptions is 3. The total number of acres of those 2 fields is 85 acres. I can hit refresh, and you can see it's already complete. Once it's complete, you can download the report, and you can download the controller file. Let's take a look at the report. So I can just click this. And let me back it up a little bit. Now, I'll show you in a minute, but you can load in your own. This is the cover page of the PDF. You can put a logo in here, your company. You can put a header up here that says, the grower's name, and, or 2016 Rex or something like that. That would be the header, the name of the report. This is the name of the job. Would go right under as a subtitle. And then, like I said, you can put your logo in there if you want. On the next page, we list out for you which formulas were used. And we list which fields were included and when those points and lab results were uploaded into the system. So this is a record then. This goes with that order, and a year later you can come back and look and see if there's a question when those lab results were uploaded, you can look here and see that. Here's the lab results summary, and this is just pulling out just the lab results out of that CSV that was uploaded of the lab results that were used in the formula. So we only needed pH, P, and K. So it just shows you those. It now shows you the sample locations on the next page. So this is field 11, and you can see here's the border, and here's the points. If I zoom in a little bit, you'll see the name of each point is inside that little marker. On the next page is the full list of lab results that were in that CSV. Again, just kind of a reference. This is field 11. And here's all the different points. Here's point 73. And then it starts showing you the maps. So on this page, what we're looking at is this is the product that's being put out by that formula. Here's the formula name. We're putting out lime using the silty clay loam formula. Here's the map of the field, and you can see the different rates that are going out in the field. So the white is 0, of course, and then we've got different colors. Now this is what we call the bin formula. So with the bin formula, you'll see these different bins, if you will. So there's 3,000 rate going out. And when I say bin, I'm not talking about the applicator truck bins, but the formula bins. They're each amount goes into like a different bin. So here's 3,000 bin, 5,000, 6,000. Now, so this is the output. This is the prescription. Over on the side, we show you the map of the lab results that was used in creating this. So here's the map of the pH. And you can see how the pH came, and you can see we've interpolated across the entire field. And then here's the formula, the P for corn, and the product was the old 46O. And you can see what the prescription's calling for. And you can go in, and we don't have these rates really set very well in those formulas. You can go in and change these rates. You have the ability to change that so that it shows a little bit better. Instead of being a solid red blob, you can see more of the gradients in that field. But this would be the prescription, again, going from 175 up to 280 for that product. And here's the potassium. And here's the prescription for potassium. And here's the potassium map of that field. Now here's the blow up of those lab results. So here's the big map of the pH and then the P, and it shows the lab results. It shows where each point is. Let me go back here. You can see the red dots. Those are the sample points and the pH values. It's probably hard to see that, but it's displaying the pH value at each point. And same thing with the K. Now here's the field summary. So we're looking at field 11. You can also see it down here, Andy East 11. You can see the formula, the product associated with that formula, the total amount of product put out, the max rate put out in field 11, the average and the minimum, and then the total acres treated of each of those products. So all of those sheets that we just looked at were associated with field 11. Now here's field 7, which was that smaller field. There was only 4 points. And it does the same thing. It shows you the map of the points. It shows you the lab results for those points. And it shows you the each prescription map. So here's your Lyme that's going out, and here's your map of your pH for that field, showing a low Lyme up in this area. I mean, a low pH up in this area. Then here's P, and then here's K. Now, back when we placed that order, I was talking about the interpolation parameters, and I said that the cell size, it defaulted to 30, and I changed it to 15. This is where you would see that difference. You see these little steps through here. If you change that back to 30, it's going to be a little bit more blocky of a map. And the smaller the interpolation cell size, the less blocky these outlines are. So that's where that would affect things. But again, you have to kind of think of, well, what's the boom width on your sprayer too? Does it make sense to go with a smaller cell size? So again, these are just lab tests. Here's the summary for field 7, showing the min, max, and total amount needed. And then once you've done all the fields, so let's say you had 10 fields, then it would go through and show you all 10 fields. Then at the end of the report, it shows the product summary across all the fields. So here's 0060, K for corn. It shows you the fields. It shows you the min-max of the lab results. It shows you the min-max of the product and the total amount of product for both of those fields together. And then it goes to the next product and gives you the total for all the fields. It does this one page for each product across all fields. Again, if you ran 10 fields here, 10 fields in this order, they would all show up. And that's the report that comes out.